Okay. You ready, Jeremy?
I'm ready.
Get my phone out of the area. Hey, Thomas, how are you doing?
Doing good, guys. How about yourself?
Yeah, we're doing fantastic. Thanks for joining us. We understand that we'd like to have had you live on the podcast, but we know that you're kind of busy on Wednesday. You're running a clinic.
Yes, yeah, running a clinic out here at Smith Lake Farm. Actually, I just got in yesterday and kind of spent the day relaxing, playing a little bit of disc golf out here, and enjoying the local amenities and scenery and disc golf. So it's been awesome so far.
Yeah, awesome. And it sounds like you've got a good lineup as well. Sophia Donica is there with you as well.
Yep, she's here. She's actually just on the other side of this wall here. She's enjoying the time here as well.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, that'll be good. And so right after a tournament, you just finish a big A tier, and then you're still playing disc golf today. You're not taking any rest or nothing?
Oh no, I mean yesterday kind of was my rest day. Did a little bit of disc golf still, like went to a field and threw some stuff, and then actually went to Ben Atkinson's house and messed around with the tech disc for probably like 2 hours. So it was super fun, but yeah, traveled out to the island yesterday and then got in pretty late to Smith Lake Farm, maybe like pretty late, like around 11, 12 in the evening.
Wow. We
Yeah.
have a friend who has a tech disc and he's using it. Do you find from a professional point of view that you can take that data and actually work on it and improve things? Like those that data and those numbers mean things to you?
They do. They kind of just uh, confirm like my ability to throw a little bit. I would say like the things that I'm working on now and trying to refine, I don't quite get to see with the numbers of tech disc because it's mostly like speed, RPM, and then like wobble and like maybe like disc nose angle that
Right.
like you can look at and really observe to try to like tweak and improve upon. And so like for myself, when I'm like averaging like over 70 miles an hour and over like 1500 RPM on a drive, like there's not too much else to work on to try to like get it higher. There's not much need. Like
Yeah.
distance or power or spin is not like what's holding me back from becoming like a more consistent, better player that will help like increase my score on the course. So for me, I'm like working more on like timing drills and like different kind of like footwork and body positioning and placement to be able to kind of, and also just like strategy for in disc golf to be able
Right.
to kind of lower my score because the spin and speed are something that I got plenty of right now.
Exactly. That's interesting because that was a question I was just going to ask because on your Instagram, you had a few of those tutorials, and one of the ones that stuck with me, and it was a good technique, was to put a towel on a
Mhm.
table and
Yeah,
pull it, and if you're rounding because the towel will hit you in your
yeah,
in your shoulder, sort of thing. Is
uh-huh.
that something that you actually do? Like, does that help you, or is that just for more of us amateurs that's something that we can relate to? That's kind of an instant feedback.
Yeah. So I mean, I use it for sure. Like if I'm kind of feeling like off in my pull through, like if I feel like I'm coming through a bit early or late, like then that's something that I'll use because like it kind of tells me my arm positioning and I think it's just a great tool for like amateurs and people to use because it
Yeah,
actually is like a physical feeling that you can tell the difference between one shot and another.
yeah,
Where a lot of times like you kind of just have to rely on like your own body awareness or potentially like a camera and like
yeah,
recording and rewatching footage. But that's like a drill that you can actually get the immediate feedback. And so
yeah.
it's like a super helpful drill for people to try out.
Yeah, absolutely. For anyone who hasn't seen that, go check out Thomas's Instagram. Go back and look at the helpful drills that he's got on there because they definitely help me.
For
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely. Well, Thomas, it feels like we had you on very recently, and it kind of is
Yeah.
because we did.
Uh-huh.
So we had you on there for the Foxwood Open tournament where you had won that one this year, and that was a repeat win because you'd won it the year before. And
Yeah.
now we've got you on for the TCO because you've won this A tier, except this
Yeah.
time it's not a
Repeat.
repeat, it's a
Yeah. Three.
three-peat. Congratulations on that. That's amazing. You're just you're dominating early this year in Canada.
Yeah, thank you. It feels like amazing to be able to come back to these tournaments year after year, and like have the community of people like at these events. Like Ontario Foxwood's like a big Ontario event that a lot of people come and gather to play, and then same with TCO here in BC. It's like a really fun event that brings in a lot of the BC locals, and it's really fun to play. And the sense of community out in Kamloops is amazing. My host is Carrie Neal, the tournament director, and she's always like treated me so well out there. And I think like in return, I usually play pretty good at these events as well. So the whole experience is pretty awesome.
Yeah. And with that too, this is the third TCO only. So you are like the only MPO winner of that tournament. So
Yeah,
you've got a pretty big mantle on your shoulders these days.
I know. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting as the competition gets tougher and tougher each year to try to maintain that single champion status.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we want to do, and we're kind of working on it in these episodes, is break down your rounds a bit, but just kind of get a feel for how the tournament went for you and kind of
Mhm.
start on round one. But the one thing that I noticed this year was the courses changed up a bit. So last year it was Rose Hill and Mac
Yeah.
Island for you. But
Yeah.
this year there's like a whole new redesigned Logan Lake Copper Ridge
Yes.
course. So what did you think about that?
Yeah, it was interesting. I got in on Monday after Beaver State Fling, drove up with the Birdcage basket guys from Portland area because they were showing off their baskets. And so I was actually there pretty early, like earlier than most competitors got there, and was able to go out to Logan Lake and play 3 practice rounds and really kind of get that course dialed in because, yeah, it was a new course, new design. They were even doing some of the final kind of like touches as I was there like early on in the week. And but the course played really good. Like it was a really nice course. It was like kind of up and down this like mountainous terrain and like a really cool style of disc golf that don't really get to play too much in Ontario or even on tour for example. So it was really cool to kind of play that style of disc golf because I think it's quite different and quite entertaining to play as well.
Yeah, definitely. I had a chance to play Logan Lake last year, and when it was at TCO, because the AMs played it, and it was a whole different type of course. When I was seeing some of the clips from Instagram from some of the players who were out there, there was a big water carry, a whole bunch of different new shots, and I think they changed 18. 18 used to be a big drop down par 3, but they've mixed it up a whole bunch.
Definitely. Yeah, they did a huge redesign. I don't know how many holes are even the same as last year. I know they combined a couple. They put a couple new ones in. The water carry hole is like one of the most significant changes just to bring the water feature into the actual play. And then as well, I think they changed up a couple tee pads, lengthened and shifted around some baskets to make the course like play a little tougher.
Did you obviously you were there playing different courses last year, but did you get to play? I mean, have you played the old layout before?
No, I had never played it before this year. So yeah, because Logan Lake's like 35 minutes outside of Kamloops, and and so yeah, it never brought me out to that area in years past.
Yeah.
Well, if we talk about that round one, you played a clean front 9. You had 5 pars, 4 birdies. You were after 9 holes, you were -4, looking good, and all that practice must have paid off. And then Darryl and I noticed that there was 1 bogey on the back 9, and rather than get upset about that, what happened after that?
After that we got to hole 13 and just threw a really solid tee shot, and actually like on the tee pad I kind of just like fist pumped myself and was like, okay, sweet, bullseye. And it's a blind hole, and I actually had no idea until I walked like 3/4 way up the hole that I actually aced the hole and had like the best bounce back of my life to go for the 1 bogey of the round, covered it up with an ace.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I saw too, it was a 355 footer. What was the kind of the shape of that hole? You said it was blind, but was it like a dog leg left, or what did it look like?
Yeah, it was kind of like up and over this hillside, and the basket was tucked in on the left against the hill, and so it was kind of like just throw like a flat to hyzer shot out there, and I threw actually one of my new like Thomas Gilbert stamped Vodums, and yeah, just apparently skipped like 5 feet short of the basket, and then nose up, and just the disc like flattened against the chains, and so that's why like we couldn't hear it back from the tee pad.
Right.
Oh,
I was
Yeah.
going to ask how you knew it was in the basket. So obviously there was people watching. It wasn't a case you were looking around trying to find your disc, and then like everybody says, if you can't find your disc, check the basket.
Yeah, check the basket. Yeah.
yeah. Did you end up? So if you hadn't heard it, did you hear everyone yelling, and did you go run it down, or did you guys just play around and find it?
No,
there
so
when you got there?
we didn't know that all the spectators or the majority of the spectators were actually up at the tee with us, just like following us with the flow, and so there was only two cameramen up near the green, and like they were kind of like focused getting the shot, and so like they didn't really say anything, and there was one other person following along, Colin, but like he was just so stunned about how it went in that like he kind of like didn't really know how to react, didn't have the immediate like yell, and wasn't sure like if he should yell because of the cameras recording, so it was pretty funny.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, at least
Now,
they got it caught on camera then. At least you'll be able to watch it back at some point.
Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
be really cool.
Yeah, when Park Pro gets that coverage out, I'm sure that'll be definitely a highlight. But it was that. Now, I'm sure you've had a ton of aces. Have you had many tournament aces, or was that your first one, or where does that fit in there?
Yeah, I've surprisingly had a good number of tournament aces. I think that might be like the 13th or 14th tournament ace that I've had, which is crazy. So, like, yeah, I don't know what it is, but I've gotten, I think, like 5 aces on the Pro Tour, and I remember a couple in Ontario back in the day, and yeah, like some reason that I don't know, like aces seem to go in for me on tournament days.
Yeah.
Well,
It's funny because in a tournament we never pay in. Well, at least for myself, I never pay as an amateur. We never pay into the ace box
Oh,
because
it's
I'm
ace
always
box,
thinking
yeah.
I'm never running an ace in a tournament. I'm always just trying to
Right.
get near the basket
Yeah.
and go for the birdie, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
you're always
Yeah,
have a different mindset.
There's almost never an intentional ace, even for myself. Like that one. I mean, when I like threw the shot, like I kind of said to myself, okay, sweet bullseye, because I thought like, okay, nice. I like landed just a little bit short. Should kind of like just skip and check up right by the basket, but I didn't realize. Like, just got a little bit extra height on the skip and was able to go in, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And even in general, like for as far as like ace pots go, I'll usually pay into the ace pot, and especially if it's like you can sign up on Disc Golf Scene as like just an extra check, like give it $5-10, whatever the ace pot is.
Yeah.
Because if I don't hit it, whatever, that's like a donation to the club or whoever like gets an ace. Like, and I think it's always in good fun. So, and then I can make sure I've actually paid in the ace pot if I ever do hit one.
Exactly. You got your old bases covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that ace motivated you through that rest of that round, and you ended up getting 3 more birdies, a bogey, got the ace, and you finished the back 9. And for the round, you had shot a 54, and you were -8, sitting nice, first place going into round 2.
Yeah.
And then now you go into round 2. You got a 2-stroke lead with Miguel Alvarado, a guest who has been on our show, right behind you there. And you're back at Copper Ridge, and then you've got Ryan Watson and Griffin Vester with you. And I see Ryan's been playing for a long time, but Darryl and I aren't as familiar with them. Have you played with any of those 3 before?
Yeah, I played with Miguel before out here in BC. I think he was on TCO coverage or on lead card last year. Yeah. And so I had played with him before. I had played with Ryan before. He used to play like back in Ontario a little bit and out here in BC a decent amount. So I had played with him before as well. Griffin was new for me, but it was a great card, and we had a good time like throughout the round. It was a bit of a rough start for some of them, like but we were able to kind of like manage through it and have a good round overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A good round, you say.
Yeah,
hey?
you say you had a good round. You went bogey free on round 2.
Yeah, I had a really a couple of the other players on my card were having a bit of a struggle to start. I had a really hot start and was able to get 7 birdies on the front 9. And honestly missing some holes that I was like, oh man, I could have birdied that too, but that's okay. And just kind of continued to bring that through to the back 9, got 5 more birdies for bogey free 12 under par, which felt really, really nice.
Oh, yeah. We bet it would have felt nice. And that was a 1055 rated round when I checked. Now,
Yes.
where does that rank with your highest rounds? Is that up there, or is that something kind of in the middle area? Or
that's I think somewhere between 15 and 20, maybe, for my top rounds. And I know I have all my top 10 rounds are above 10, around 1065 or higher. So I don't know what between the 65 and 55, how many rounds are in that in that category.
Right.
When you make so many of those rounds, Jeremy, you stop counting.
Yeah, exactly. If it's not over 1060, I don't even pay attention anymore, Darryl.
That's one of the rounds that'll drop off eventually.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
We reached out to Miguel, as we said. We reached out to some of your card mates, and he said he was. I mean, obviously he would say this, but he said he was impressed with your power. I mean, I think we're all in awe and impressed with your power as well. But he said it made him smile when there was a 560-foot hole that you tried to park.
Yeah.
And you were kind of annoyed that you didn't park it.
Yeah, there's a couple holes out there that were reachable par 4s, and I mean it requires a really, really good shot. You got to hit your angle and get the right turn and fade and height. And so there was a couple of them out there that I was trying to do something special and be able to give it a chance for the eagle. And when it kind of threw a little nose up, fade out. It's fine. It's still likely a birdie, but I always want to try to do something special for the coverage and the crowd out there.
Especially when you've got that shot in your ability. If you know that you can throw it,
and
if everything goes right, it's exactly.
Is a lot of these courses, both here in BC and also back in Ontario, there's not as difficult of consequences or as troubling of consequences for messing up the big shot necessarily. A lot of the par 4s I was going for, there was no really out of bounds to really get me into trouble. So as long as I hit the initial gap, I was kind of home free, and I'd be far enough up there that I'd have a putter shot from somewhere, and which is really nice because on tour you're off by a little bit, you're out of bounds, coming back 300 feet of distance, and now you're throwing 3 from maybe 400 plus feet back of the fairway.
Yeah. They talk about on the Pro Tour making the courses AB proof. I think up here in Canada we need to make them TG proof.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So then, Thomas, if we keep moving on, you get into round 3, and by this point you've extended your lead to 9 strokes. But Luke Levesque had an awesome round 2. He shot a -8, so he got to jump onto lead card with you along with Jonathan Munke, I think, if I've got that right, and then Connell McLeod as well.
Yeah.
And we know Connell because he's a great player out of Calgary. We got to see him down in Lethbridge, so it's good. And I asked him, I said, what did you think about playing with Thomas? So he had said that you were a great mixture of relaxed and intense during the round at the same time.
Yeah, definitely that round. It was, it was a very weird final round for me. It was very up and down. So I can definitely see how I had strung together, I think 10 birdies throughout the round. But the tense moments were definitely the 2 double bogeys and a triple bogey to finish it off. Which just kind of got under my skin a little bit, but tried to maintain my level of cool and be able to refocus and try to capitalize on as many birdie opportunities as I could, even though I had a couple really crazy slip ups.
Well, further to that, he did say that he really enjoyed chatting with you. And in his words here, he's like, he felt you were a really nice dude. Is how he insulted.
Take it.
But then he did say too, there was an interesting moment, if maybe you remember the exact details of it. He said it was on hole 13. He was throwing a shot from OB and he was watching his throw, and you yelled, "Watch out!" And the first thing he did was he ducked because he thought a disc was coming at him, but you ended up saving somebody's shot. Yeah, you said that what happened was he instantly ducked, but then you ran at lightning speed and moved his bag just as a roller shot was heading for it. And had the roller hit the bag, it would have likely been out of bounds, but you were able to keep it in bounds with your lightning fast reflexes.
Yes. Yeah. So the roller was coming off of, I think it was hole 16's tee, and we were playing like the opposite direction. And that's the fairway separated the OB line between 13 and 16. And yeah, he just heard 4. So he like kind of like ducked away because he thought it was an air shot kind of like coming in for the crowd. And I saw the roller kind of just barely moving along the ground and like just pulled away his bag at the very last second. And yeah, his bag was probably like 20 feet into the out of bounds. And so it like just barely missed his bag after I pulled it out of the way. And then went another like 100 feet and then started curling towards the right and curled just barely back in bounds. But if it hit the bag, there's no way it would have deflected 20 feet back to the right and come back in bounds. So luckily saved that guy a stroke by moving the bags.
So while you're talking about saving strokes, I have a rules question for you. So if the disc had hit his bag, Connell would have taken a stroke, right? But if it was in him out of bounds, that wouldn't have counted?
No, so it's so the rule is actually quite interesting. I think it's about intent. So for your card mates, and if you're like a random player on the course, if you put your bag in a random spot and there's no intent of like it being in the way of a shot, then if it accidentally rolls and hits the bag, like that's misintent and there's no penalty for that.
Okay. Right.
But however, you are responsible for your own equipment and for your own shot. So if you put your bag like right beside where you're putting and you hit the basket and roll back and hit your own bag, you're responsible for your own equipment, or you're responsible for getting your equipment out of the way.
Right.
If that's the case. So yeah, your own equipment, there's no leeway, but for other players' equipment, it's intent because there's no way you can tell exactly where it's going to go. But if you put like somewhere up the fairway, like where I could potentially throw it, and then it hits your bag, then there's like a bit of like not intent, but like you weren't being considerate of like where you're putting your bag. That can be considered like an obstacle, and then you could get a stroke penalty for that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And we call this section PDGA rules with Thomas.
Yeah, the PDGA rules are crazy, but luckily I've learned like throughout all the situations on tour and just kind of like talking through situations with all the guys on tour and like just in tournaments that I play with, like have a decent understanding of most of the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ones that could potentially happen. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and the other thing we should mention is round 3 then, after playing the 2 rounds at Logan Lake, you went over to Mac Island, which you'd be quite familiar with that course from the previous tournaments. And now I don't think for maybe Darryl and I, but I've been told that can be a birdie fest at times. Is that does that course set up for that?
Yeah, it definitely does. The holes are relatively short and very accessible. They definitely put a lot of teeth on the course with like OB lines that they add in just for the tournament, and as well they like kind of changed up a couple holes, made a couple island shots. So it definitely plays a lot harder, and you can kind of see that even in the scoring between Logan Lake and Mac Island. Like I don't think any division necessarily even played it that much better than Logan Lake, which is funny because it's supposed to be the harder course. But with the conditions we had, because it was like a bit of a windy and much rainier round with like slightly cooler, cold conditions, I think it just the OB lines got in the way for a lot of people, and scores can stack up real quickly when there's like OB involved.
Yeah. And Darryl, that would probably make sense too, because Thomas, you were saying earlier there that you weren't so afraid at Logan Lake because it was just natural OB in most cases or whatever it was there. So
Yeah,
probably everybody was just ripping, knowing that wherever they landed, they could play a shot from there. But at Mac Island, you don't have that luxury. So after 2 days of throwing whatever you want, now everybody's got to really dial in their shots, eh?
right. And actually, interestingly enough, another thing that I noticed when I went back and played at Mac Island the final day that I didn't think was going to be a factor, but actually ended up noticing it throughout the round was the elevation difference between MacArthur Island and Logan Lake. Logan Lake, I believe, sits at 3,600 feet in elevation, where Mac Island, I think, only sits around 1,000 feet. So it's over 3 times as elevated. So the stability of the discs were quite a bit different. And so I noticed a lot of my shots like flipping up a lot more or not being quite as like overstable. And I remember like 2 of my shots, I think like surprised me and leaked out of bounds because I flipped them up like or turned them over too much. And I was like, wow, that's like no way it's doing that. But yeah, I didn't think about it as much when I was trying to factor in the shots.
Right. Yeah.
For sure. Well, and like, so let's say you go into round 3 there and you've got a pretty healthy lead going, but Luke is trying to challenge you there. And,
Yeah.
Credit to him. He went on a hot streak. He had 9 birdies in a row from 9 through 17. Did you start to feel any pressure there to keep up with him? Because you got 7 of those 9 as you guys were going there.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I actually didn't notice because I knew that like, yeah, I had the big lead. I knew Luke was obviously playing really well and he was putting really well too. But I knew I was also playing solid and 9 strokes is a lot to catch up on.
Yeah.
And I think he even said to me like on 16, he was trying to get me to throw like a giant Sky Annie turnover to go for the island green on this par 4. And he's like, bro, you got 8 strokes. Like, what do you got to lose? And I was like, not much, but I'm going to throw the safe, smart shot and try to get my birdie that way.
Well, and especially too, I don't know if you're a guy who watches scores or not, but at that point there, you're trusting your card mates to have your back on where you're at, right?
Right. Yeah. But no, I wasn't too worried about it. And I have a good idea of like where things are at, like if I need to know the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
So we also talked to Luke and asked him about playing with you. And he did say that he remembers being a little funny trying to drop some jokes and stuff, and that he threw like 4 errant backhands and called himself a walking sprinkler system.
Yeah, he did say that.
Yeah, so I guess it's kind of nice too, is when you can. I know it's intense and serious, and you guys are at the pro level, and you're playing for money, and you're competing there. But do you enjoy having a little bit of that lightheartedness on the card?
Oh yeah, I think it makes it a lot more enjoyable for everybody when you can kind of be light, joke around, keep the mood up and on the card because it can get a lot more difficult to kind of like keep yourself focused if like you kind of have to be to yourself the entire time. So like being able to kind of just socialize and enjoy your time with the card makes the round so much easier and so much like flowing almost if you're enjoying your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, talking about the back 9 there, coming right up to last hole 18. That was just a brutal hole for everybody on the card. There was only 5 pars the whole day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hole 18 was a crazy way to finish off the round for our card. I think we had 1 par on it from Connell, I believe. And even that was like, I think he went for it, was kind of heading towards out of bounds, got a nice kick down into the middle of the fairway, and then like had a nice up and down to save the par. And then, I think I threw it OB left, Luke threw it OB right, and like, oh man, and then I think the other person on my card just didn't get up and down. Jonathan didn't get up and down from his like nice tee shot. But it's a tough hole. Like even on my second shot, I was trying to throw up around the trees, got caught up in the middle a bit, and then hit and then rolled slow out to the left OB, and then just pitched up for a nice triple to end my round.
Yeah.
But luckily I had enough of a lead that it wasn't any kind of
Yeah.
stress. Like,
Was that the way that you were thinking on that? Because there was only 1/6 that someone took on that hole.
oh yeah, that was me.
That was you, yeah. Was it just because that you knew that you had that much of a lead that?
Oh
Not that
no,
it didn't worry
it
you.
was a bunch of blunders back to back.
Okay.
But no, I knew that, like, I definitely was a little bit frustrated to throw such silly shots, even though I could just easily just pitch up, and probably take a par majority of the time. And honestly, if I focused more, I maybe would have done it like I had last year. But it's okay. Like, yeah, it was all good. It didn't affect the outcome, so there's no reason to make a big fuss about it.
Yeah.
So kind of taking a line from Ted Lasso, did you act like a goldfish after you put that disc in the basket and just forget about everything and then enjoy it? Were you able to just put that aside and enjoy the win?
Maybe not quite as quick as a goldfish, but yeah, by the time everything kind of got wrapped up when we finished off 18, I was able to just enjoy the moment and enjoy the win and the achievement that I had throughout the entire weekend, not just on the last hole. Yeah.
Well, good for you. Congratulations on that for sure.
Thanks. Thank you.
So while you were in Kamloops then, there's been some new changes in that. They weren't able to have Rose Hill in the tournament this year, but they have done a bunch of renos to it. Did you guys get out there for a doubles round or anything? Did you get to see the changes they made?
I did. I went out there on Thursday after some practice. My buddy Chance, who I'm traveling with for these next couple weeks, he was running a glitch World Championship qualifier event at Rose Hill. So I went out there and to say hi, but then also went and like played a little loop of holes just to be able to see kind of like the majority of the changes that they made. And the new baskets, the new tee pads that they put in to really elevate the course to where they want it to for the next couple of years.
So that should make it really good if Carrie's able to Carrie and Chad will be able to incorporate it for next year again.
For sure, yeah. I think the plan in the future as well, because they're working on another course, Dick Hart, which is a little bit north of Kamloops, and I think the goal is potentially to do Rose Hill and Dick Hart for future TCOs. But I know also Logan Lake is always a great option as well.
Especially with all the work they did out there. Yeah, it would be even better than it was before. So,
Have you had a chance to get out to Dick Hart and have a look at it?
No, I had gone there, I think like 2 years ago before they kind of did any of the major cutting, and went out there with Thomas and Carrie and went through like the layout of the course and kind of gave them like my pro feedback on like what sort of challenges, what kind of obstacles are good, what kind of like challenges and fairway sizes are reasonable for like different hole distances and variety of shots that you want to kind of incorporate onto a course. So I do really want to get out there and play it soon. But yeah, I just didn't quite have the time that week to get to it. But I know they also want to try to improve it a little bit more, get a little bit more cleaned up, and I think some more of the tee pads maintained before I'll go out there the next time.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, we know you'll be back.
Yeah. You've got a 3-peat. You got to make it a 4-peat now. Is that how you call it?
Try to keep going. Yeah.
The other thing with that too, if you had the Park Pro boys out there doing the recording and that, they just recently announced, we've been waiting for it. What felt like forever was the announcements of the Canadian Disc Golf Tour. So that's been announced. They've started to put the points up, and they're giving points for every A tier and every B tier. And then, so when I check the schedule, because I don't know that you've looked yet, but on the scoreboard there, your good buddy and friend of the show, Marty Hendel, he's played some A and B tiers and done quite well. So he was sitting at the top of the leaderboard with 240 points.
Ooh, nice.
And then he didn't really play this weekend, but after your Tournament Capital Open, you're at 220. So I think you're in
interesting. Okay.
Tied for second place right now. So
okay, nice. Sweet.
And then you'll have BC Open coming up, so you'll have a chance to hopefully get on top of the leaderboard. But we know you play in the US a lot too, so depending on what other people are doing, they might just play more events up in Canada. So that'll be the only thing stopping you, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I know, like last year, similar thing with all the events. I think like Casey and like Noah Higgins, Brian Freeze were able to play a lot more of the like A tiers, kind of like in throughout Alberta, and even like Winnipeg or Manitoba. There might have been some, and some out east in Maritimes that I wasn't able to go out and play. And I don't actually remember what the standings were at the end of last year, but I'm pretty sure Casey or one of those guys was able to take it down and get the Canadian Tour win.
Yes. Yeah, you are right. Casey took it down on the MPO side, and then Colleen McInnes took it down on the FPO.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
And speaking of Casey, you're going to get your first chance to go up against him at BC Open coming up here. How do you feel about that?
Good. I haven't seen Casey in a while. I think since maybe last year's US, I think. And yeah, I mean, I always love playing with Casey. He's a great guy, has a great game, and always love battling with him. So hopefully we can try to keep it up top of the Canadians at the top of the leaderboard for BC Open and have another Canadian champion.
Yeah. Well, and Darryl, do you think too, right? It's going to be TG versus Rocket. Would we call it Rocket Bear? Isn't that right? Isn't that the nickname we've got?
Yeah. Rocket Bear is one of the nicknames that some people shout at him. Yeah. Chunk Disc is the other. Obviously, that's his handle on Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you mentioned there about keeping the Canadians at the top, because it looks like there's 28 out of the 69 people that are coming up are from the US. And you got some, we got some names like Chandler Fry, which is probably a common name for you. Carter Aarons, Scott Withers are coming up as well. So you're going to have some stiff competition, but let's hope, hopefully you can make it a BC sweep.
Yeah, I hope so.
And then I think the last thing we really wanted to touch on with you too there, Thomas, was that making sure this episode will go out just before the weekend, but you've got the Battle at Big Maple that we mentioned last time coming up right away this weekend too, right?
Battle Big Maple happening this weekend in Squamish and Stillwood. Really excited for those. If this is going out tomorrow on Wednesday, you'll still have 2 days to sign up for it in time. I think there's still a few spots left at each one. So if you wanted to come out and have a great time, those are the two locations on Squamish on Saturday and Stillwood on Sunday. So yeah, come out and join. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, it is. And if I remember right, one of the things that's kind of unique about this one is that anyone who comes out is going to get an opportunity to throw a hole sometime during the event with you.
Yeah, that's the goal, is to come in and run through the course and play a hole, at least one hole or two potentially with every card that goes out. So that's gonna be a really fun opportunity to kind of show your stuff on a hole that I join you up on, and then as well just a whole bunch of fun things, clinic, meet and greet, some prizes and CTPs, all sorts of fun things like that. So it's gonna be a good time.
Sounds like a fun time. Yeah.
Perfect. So then before we let you go, is there any other things that you want to shout out just before we wrap up?
Yeah, I guess just like the whole Canadian scene for like having such cool events for me to come and participate at, host, be part of. Like that's, I mean, always a highlight of my year is being able to come back and play these Canadian events and really see all the Canadian scene again. Big thanks to ThoughtSpace, obviously, for making me be able to travel and do disc golf full time. Like without their support, I wouldn't be able to do such cool things in the world of disc golf. So big thanks to them, and yeah, just thank you guys for having me on again. It's been a blast talking with you.
Yeah, awesome. And then hopefully after the BC event, we'll get you on a third time as well.
Hopefully, yeah.
And make it You'll get sick and tired of us before you know it. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Thomas, and best of luck at the BC Open. Have a great time at the Battle at Big Maple this weekend as well. And yeah, we look forward to talking to you again.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks, Thomas. We appreciate your time.